morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. I hope everyone is doing well. Giving everybody another moment to arrive. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. I hope everyone is doing well. Excuse me while giving everybody another moment to arrive. Getting some background, of course, on the YouTube Live. There we go. There we go. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Sunday, everyone. I know many people probably are figuring out time changes for many people across the country this morning, except for us here, although we had some snafu in our house. My partner's new phone must have been set to Central Time, so his phone went ahead an hour, and he woke us all up, only to discover, of course, that it was earlier than he had thought, but that's okay. So it'll take us all a few days to adjust, I'm sure. But for those that are here live, watching on YouTube Live, or watching the recording later, thank you for being here. My name is Glenda Miles, for those who do not know me, and I am the founder and director of Mindful Healing Space, and I offer these Sunday morning mindful practices as a way for us to connect and to practice together, because I think it's really important in community, but also as we look for spaces to come together and to practice on a regular basis. This can be one of those spaces, at least you can know, you can go every week and make sure to start to cultivate a meditation or mindfulness practice in your own life. And so our theme for March has been, and continues to be, because it's still March, curiosity. And curiosity is a beautiful thing. And last week we began doing what I'll call an open awareness meditation, where we just became really curious about what was going on within us. And today we're going to do something a little different, but I wrote about being curious yesterday in Self-Care Saturday, and I wanted to kind of tie a little bit of that into our conversation as we begin today. And so there's this concept, if you will, concept of beginner's mind. And beginner's mind is this beautiful thing that when we can kind of approach an experience with it, it can change so many things. And so what is a beginner's mind? And I'm going to read a quote from Leo Babauto, I think is how I pronounce his last name. A beautiful Zen Buddhist who writes wonderful things on the internet, which I will include a link to in the description. And he writes, beginner's mind, it's dropping our expectations and preconceived ideas about something and seeing things with an open mind, fresh eyes, just like a beginner. If you've ever learned something new, you can remember what that's like. You're probably a little confused because you don't know how to do whatever you're learning, but you're also looking at everything as if it's brand new, because it is, perhaps with curiosity and wonder. That's beginner's mind. As humans, from an early age, we start to cultivate conditioning based on our past experiences. And that conditioning shapes our thoughts, and it shapes how we feel about things, and it shapes our behaviors. And, the brain is really trying to support us by creating efficiencies, right? So if we've done something so many times, it wants to help us by creating a quicker route there. But sometimes that conditioning isn't necessarily based on the reality that we're experiencing in the now, but the remnants, if you will, of all of our past experiences. And so it's really important for us to move through a process, if you will, of starting to become aware of that conditioning, of those internal responses that maybe aren't about this moment in time fully, but this moment in time and all of the other stuff. And so as we become aware, we can start to challenge some of that conditioning. We can start to insert a more balanced perspective, if you will. We can be empowered to actually make different choices in our life, which is powerful, but also not without its challenges in terms of, starting to recognize some of that conditioning, which can be very subtle. It can be very subtle, or it can be so entrenched into how we show up in the world that we think it's just part of our personality, part of who we are, instead of simply the way in which we've learned to operate. And so what does curiosity have to do with that? Well, again, it's like when we can come to our own experience in a moment with that beginner's mind, with that curiosity and wonder, we then have this opportunity to reflect, notice maybe some of the smaller things, similar to what we did last week with the open awareness, where we just start to create some curiosity, cultivate curiosity about what's happening within us, what's happening as we experience our own life, as we sit even in stillness, which can be really challenging for lots of people. Is just sitting still can be like, I don't know if I want to do this, right? All of the things that start to percolate up within us that make us feel really uncomfortable. And in that uncomfortable or discomfort, we want to move away from it. So we get distracted. We say, this is stupid, I can't meditate. And we can say all of these things to get us out of this situation of feeling uncomfortable, instead of perhaps, for moments at least, being curious about what makes us uncomfortable about it. What makes us uncomfortable? What is causing the discomfort? And if I sit in it for a moment, will it dissipate? Will it start to settle? Maybe, maybe not. You will only know if you try and try to work through those moments of discomfort. As we sit with curiosity, we can also start to become really aware of the voice in our head. So some of us might hear things, we might see things, we might feel things in a certain way. That's this internal dialogue that we have going on with ourselves. And when we start to cultivate curiosity internally and externally, especially internally, we can start to notice that voice, that inner dialogue that we're having, and what's the quality of that conversation. If it was another person aside from you, and you were conversing with them in the way that you converse with yourself, what would be the quality of that conversation? Would it be deep and engaging and loving? Or would it be so superficial that you don't ever go kind of deep? Or is it really mean? Some people have a really mean inner critic in their voice that really holds them back. And we all do to some extent. Again, based on that conditioning, we can be conditioned to hold ourselves back. That's where that mindset comes in, that idea of how we think about ourselves, how we talk to ourselves. Can I, the can't, I can'ts, the I shoulds, I shouldn'ts, all of the language in which we use to talk to ourselves. We start to notice it. We start to go, hey, I do this a lot. I'm holding myself back from living my life the way I want to live it. We are often, not always the only, but often our own inner dialogue and mindset is an obstacle to our own future growth and success, whatever that might look like for you. So in today's practice, I wanted to introduce you to what we call a kriya. And kriya is just a word for action, movement. So in Kundalini yoga, we use kriyas all the time when we're teaching classes. And so every class has a specific intention behind it in the movements that we make, all aiming towards that intention, as an example. But there's lots of different types of kriya in yoga. And so this one that I'm going to teach is a breath one. And I thought we would do a little bit of breath work and then sit in quiet, in solitude, in stillness for a few moments. We'll see how it goes for people in terms of that. And again, just with that open-heartedness, when we think about curiosity, there's two components that I usually think of. One is open-minded, right? That beginner's mind of releasing the judgments and the expectations and just being curious about what is happening. And the second is open-hearted, right? Open-hearted in a way that we allow ourselves to experience the moment for what it is, I want to read from Inward, Young Pueblo's book. As we begin, healing ourselves is the personal movement we embark on to let go of all the conditioning that limits our freedom. In this journey, there will undoubtedly be moments of bliss and difficulty. Real happiness and wisdom grow from the reality we experience, not from the fleeting moments of bliss that we feel. Let me read that again. Real happiness and wisdom grow from the reality we experience, not from the fleeting moments of bliss that we may feel. You know, it's in being able to be in the reality, in the now, and fully experience it, that we're able to cultivate deep wisdom. And that's really what we're talking about here in terms of curiosity, is cultivating this wisdom that goes beyond the conditionings of our past, but really allow us to be in the experience of the now. So with that, let's begin. So for this kriya, this pranayam, this breath work that we're going to do, it's a very simple breath. It's really just inhaling and exhaling through your nose, preferably. And that's the breath. It's going to be inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And we're going to do some movements with our hand that's really aimed at the heart chakra, of opening up the chest, of being more open-hearted as we also experience this breath in our body. So as much as possible, cultivating that beginner's mind. If you've never done this before, it truly is a new experience for you. So be okay with it. Be okay with whatever you experience as you do this. Noticing the little chatter in your own mind about what might come up, and just notice it, but don't allow yourself to get caught up in the story of it, as we often do. Okay, so we're going to begin hands cupped like this. I'm sorry, you can't quite see, and we're just going to hold it just a little bit below our belly button. On the inhale, we're going to rise with our hands up on the inhale to about heart center, that deep heart space or chest level. So that's the inhale from below the belly button, inhale up to here. Then we're going to close our fingers, turn them, push them out on the exhale, rounding our back almost like a cat-cow. Then we're going to take fists, taking our thumb to our pinky, and on the inhale, pulling it back and opening up our chest. And then on the exhale, bringing hands together and pushing it back down. So let's do a few rounds together, and then you can do we'll do this for a couple of minutes of doing this movement, and then we'll do some together, and then you can do it to your own breath, okay? So hands cupped below the belly button on the inhale, exhaling, Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling. Exhaling. Continuing the movement and the breath at your own pace. Allowing your breath to be as natural as possible. Couple more rounds. Last round. As you push down this last round, allowing your hands to settle in your lap, eyes closed, and just become very curious as to how your body feels. As you quickly scan your body, what do you notice? Bringing your attention to your breath. Wherever you may notice your breath in this moment, perhaps in your chest, bringing your awareness to your deep heart space. And notice the gentle and subtle movement of your body with your breath. The slight expansion with the inhale, and the release with each exhale. As your mind wanders, as it will, just bringing it back to your breath, to your body, remaining curious, open-minded, open-hearted. Allowing yourself this time and space to be with yourself, to be in stillness. And even in stillness, there is still activity. The chatter of the mind, the beating of the heart, the pulse of the breath. If you're finding your mind is wandering quite a bit and you're feeling distracted, sometimes placing your hand on your chest, perhaps hand on belly, that touch sensation, but also connecting to that subtlety of the body moving can become a stronger anchor for your mind as you continue to allow yourself to be in the stillness, to be curious, open-hearted and open-minded to the experience you're having in this moment. Regardless of your experience in many other moments, can you allow yourself to be fully immersed in this experience? Softening, allowing, being in deep heart space of love and compassion. As your mind wanders, bringing it back to your focal point, your breath, the subtle movement of the chest, perhaps your hand on your chest. Noticing how it feels, being with the sensations. As you allow yourself this time and space, can you bring a smile to your face? Smiling and noticing how it shifts the energy in your body. Noticing the subtle shift, the subtle change within you as you simply smile. Feeling into perhaps the muscles in your face. When we're still, when we're turned inward, we notice so much more. The subtle, the small. Remaining steady for our last 2 minutes. Last moment, starting to bring awareness back into your body, perhaps placing hands back on thighs, starting to notice all the points of contact your body makes with the chair or the seat, feeling the heaviness of your body on the supports. You're in a chair, feeling your feet on the floor. Taking a few conscious breaths, deeply inhaling and exhaling, perhaps even through the mouth with a sigh. Starting to take in the sounds of the room around you, with eyes still closed, envisioning the space around you. Starting to take in the space before you fully allow yourself to open your eyes and return to the room. We thank you so much for being here, for practicing today with me. Next week is March 20th. We will be doing an extended Sunday morning mindful practice in honor of the Spring Equinox that happens that day. And so we will be about an hour long for our Sunday morning practice, of course, including a mindfulness practice, a meditation practice, but also we will be talking about the spring equinox and doing some movement as well. And I encourage you to come and join us. We will be really celebrating this beautiful time of year as we celebrate spring's finally arriving. And of course, even though it might officially be here, many of us are still living in winter conditions, but that's okay. So I hope you'll be able to join us. I thank you so much for being here, and take good care. Have an enjoyable